On this episode, I talk top line, bottom line, my dad's shoes, and Paputo's law. Hey everybody, this is Gary Vaynerchuk, and you're watching episode 15 of the Ask Gary V show. Fun fact of the number 15, that's roughly about the amount of hours I've been working today. It's actually closer to 16.
I want to ask, what would you do if you were in your dad's shoes and you didn't come to the U.S. until you were 23?
You know, I wanna believe that if I came to the U.S. In the way that my dad did, which was not only at 23 years old, but also with a child and another one on the way, that I would do the same thing that he did, which was completely work his face off to allow the next generation to kind of build on top of that. And so, you know, I don't think I would have done anything different. I think a lot of it's circumstance. My dad had a great uncle who had a liquor store that he got to work in. That great uncle passed away, and it was just all these kind of different variables. I think circumstance has a lot to do with what I would have done, but the one thing I know I would have done is work every hour of every day.
Tommy asks, in 13 Thoughts of Being an Entrepreneur, you say you focus on top line versus bottom line. Why?
Tommy, you know, one thing I think a lot of entrepreneurs do, especially ones that are just starting companies, since I invest in so many of them, that completely blows me away, is they start looking to drive margin, profit very early on. The reason I always focus on top line revenue, and it was something I did in my dad's business and something that AJ felt when I started going full time on the Vayner front, was you could always drive your profits higher eventually, but when you got a moment in time, and when I run businesses, I tend to innovate and I tend to be slightly ahead of the market. And the market eventually catches up to me, and then that's the good thing. That's the moment when it gets exciting. People start believing in social media marketing, or believing in internet e-commerce wine businesses, or believing in Australia, New Zealand, South African wine. I have to really run fast and grab as many customers because I'm slightly ahead. Then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years down the line, I can start driving profit. You can always start cutting costs, raising prices at any time, but land grabbing more customers gives you leverage of the scale that you ultimately need to convert that. And so I think people go in for the right hook, the big right hook, a lot of times way too early, sometimes to appease investors, sometimes because they just want to start buying boats and Rolexes. And I just, I'm just kind of pushing and building leverage for the long term.
Hey Gary, John Lee Dumas, entrepreneur on fire here, and I have a hashtag Ask Gary V question. Pareto's law states that 80% of our desired outcomes come from just 20% of our activities. Do you agree with this? If so, what's your 20?
That's a great question. I think a lot of people have brought that up. I know a lot of people in our organization believe in that. I've heard a lot of people believe in that. You know, do I believe in that, and what is my 20? John, first of all, congrats on your podcast. I probably think weirdly enough that it might even be more extreme. There's a big part of me that thinks it's probably closer to 98 and 2. Then there's another part of me that believes that it's 2 and 98. I am the kind of person that doesn't give a crap about other people's laws or principles. What feels right for me is execution. I think when people start knowing, this is kind of what I talk about, my naivete or lack of knowledge helps me. I think if I knew about this law prior to you bringing it up, I mean, I've heard about the 80-20 rule, but I didn't know the official name. If I knew about this law, it would actually make me want to play within that law, and then that would probably take away from the strength that I create every day. I mean, people ask me what the ROI of the Ask Gary V show is. A couple episodes ago, you hardcore watchers know that I say, well, this is selling my 4th book. Here's what I think. I think human beings overthink shit, right? And try to buy into some sort of thesis, read a book that makes them feel good, whether it's Crush It or Pareto's Law or whatever it's called. And I think that is a fundamental problem. I think when we start coming from what's authentic and what feels more natural, the law I believe in is that my mom and dad had sex at a moment, created me, and I'm taking this DNA to the finish line. That law, that's the law I believe in.
Robert asks, I know viewers get a lot out of your new show, but what is the most significant experience that you get out of it?
Robert, that's a tremendous question. I appreciate it. For me, it's kind of weird, right? I had this whole chapter of doing video blogging on an everyday basis that I enjoyed so much. I did it for 5.5 years. I think the best thing I have is like being back in the game, like a game that I love. I mean, I love running businesses, but doing this video blogging thing, it's just a lot of fun for me. The other thing that really I get a lot out of it, a lot of you hardcore old schoolers remember Mott and those kind of things. I mean, D-Rock, show this. Show Andy and there's Zach and Joe Stunwin. And here we are in, by the way, and D-Rock, he loves it like all clean. Show the table, D-Rock. He like was like scared that you guys would be like, I mean, he's a little polished for me at times. But like the biggest thing I get is that here I am in Atlantic City. By the way, little fun fact real quick, pre-show to this Sunday night's Miss America from 8 to 9. I think I'm getting a lot of like action. So make sure you DVR that and check that out. But here I am in Atlantic City. What would be going on right now? I would be sleeping or doing email, but here I'm jamming. There's kind of like team, like family thing. I love that so much. I'm creating something. Creating something is special. And so I appreciate you guys caring enough at enough scale to make me want to continue to do this and build something. There's no substitute for the feeling of accomplishing something, and that's what I feel is happening here. So thanks so much. Thanks for watching this episode. Question of the day. This is very simple. I'm keeping it basic. I'm keeping it very basic. What state do you live in? You keep asking questions, and I will keep trying to answer them.